I'm Scott Fish, founder of the Scott Fish Bowl, and you're listening to the Cleats Off podcast with Liz Bhandari.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cleats Off podcast. I'm your host Liz Bhandari and this is a show that brings you closer to the game you love. Today's guest is Scott Fish, the founder of the Scott Fish Bowl. Scott and I talk about the inspiration behind the league, the amazing work that it does for charities and how you can get involved or even set up your own. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Scott. How are you?
Oh, doing wonderful. Very wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. Now, I was first introduced to the concept of the Scott Fish Bowl by my good friend Jack Humphrey from the Kickers Matters podcast. So I learned all about it and about you through him. But for my listeners who may be new to you, perhaps you could explain what the Scott Fish Bowl is?
Yeah, so it's basically a tournament. It started out as just a listener league, a reader league for the website and podcast I had 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
And I went around the fantasy football industry asking different analysts if they'd want to play in it, kind of like they'd be celebrity drafters or whatever to play with my readers and listeners. And year after year, I got more and more analysts to play, and when this person plays, another person wants to play, and it just kind of steamrolled for 10 years now to the point that basically every analyst in the industry plays in it. We have professional athletes that play in it now. We have TV stars and movie stars that play in it. It's gotten crazy ridiculous. And I think part of its drive, the reason people do want to be involved is, at least for the last 5-6 years, it's been very charity driven. It's been to push not just our charity that buys toys for kids at Christmas time for kids who might not otherwise get toys. But also we try to push, and I've tried to push this for years on radio and podcasts. If you're playing in a fantasy league, take one entry fee or have the winner donate a little to a charity. Just add a charitable element to your league. And I think the reason SFB steamrolled into this giant tournament with everyone you can imagine is because people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and they want to be a part of a tournament that, promotes that kind of positivity. I
just love the idea of that. Curiously, what was it that inspired you to start the Scott Fish Bowl?
Well, the tournament itself, I mean, like I said, just a listener-reader league, but the charity aspect, I think a buddy of mine was buying Toys for Tots every year down in the Las Vegas area, and they need it down there. And there are lots of areas around the country that need it, and this year especially, I'm sure. But I just love that, and I wanted to be. It's one of the charities that I really like being a part of, because when you buy a toy and you give it to them, it's going straight to the kid. It's not like you give $10 and $3 go to whatever the actual charity is. It's just a 1-for-1 deal there. And this was right about the time, I'm 40 now. At 35, I had a heart attack, and I had 5 cardiologists, because I'm like 6'3", 220. I don't look like the type of guy that would have a heart attack. At 35, you don't expect a 35-year-old to have a heart attack. But it kind of puts a jolt in you that, you want to spend the rest of your life being the best possible version of yourself. And especially when I have 2 small kids, you want to lead by example to not just those kids, but everyone in your life. Try to be a good person. And so I think that really kicked off in me to add charitable elements to a lot of the stuff I was doing. And that timing with that guy running that toy drive he did in Las Vegas kind of combined, and I added it to my tournament, and here we are.
Wow. Do you know what? That's absolutely incredible. I mean, how much do you think you must have raised doing all of this?
Man, it's got to be about 120 or $130,000, somewhere in
That's
that range.
incredible.
I know it was 60,000 last year.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a very big year.
Yeah, God, absolutely. And I think I saw on your Twitter profile, you won some awards for doing this as well.
Yeah. The Athletic, which is it's a very big site, big website. The Athletic, in 2018, I was one of their Persons of the Year with guys like Larry Fitzgerald and Drew Brees and just a whole bunch of people.
Wow.
About 30 of us won that. And then last year, the FSGA, which is basically the fantasy sports industry. Like that's the FSGA is the Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association, awarded me Humanitarian of the Year, which was a pretty big deal. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like to say, I got the award, but it's really the fantasy community that deserves the award because we all banded together to make this happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And you must be so proud of all that.
Oh, I'm crazy proud. I think, I'm proud of what we've done, but I think I'm even more proud of the fact that I don't go a week without seeing a person tweet me or email me or send me a message or whatever that they have added a charitable element to their league, or their league donated X amount of dollars to whatever charity they're passionate about. And just seeing that is the part that makes me the most happy. The fact that people are out there doing this. And I think sometimes people don't realize that $10 or $20 or whatever, it can do a lot more good than people think. They just hold on. They think it doesn't do enough, or, it's too little, but it really matters.
Oh yeah, 100% it matters. A lot of people worry that, when it comes to charities, that their money isn't always going to the cause, but in the pockets of, I guess, the board at the top. But you can see with the Scott Fish Bowl that, you're really good at sharing what's happening kind of every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Did you ever think it was going to have the success it's had?
No. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I kind of realized, it was pretty small until about 6 years ago. It was, I shouldn't say small. It was never really small, but it about 5 years ago or so, it got to the point where we were getting thousands of people to sign up, like 2,000, 3, whatever. And the last 2 years, each of the last 2 years, I think it's been 8,000 to 10,000, and this year it's already right around 9,000 people signed up for this tournament. So it's clearly catching on.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. Like, that's got to be a lot of work.
It's a ton of work. That's one of the craziest things about this is the couple hundred hours I put into for working on this every year. But again, it's worth it. I mean, the amount of good that we can do out there, I don't take a penny from this personally at all. Every bit is, to promote community and networking and getting to meet new people within the fantasy industry and of course charity. So like it's worth every ounce of work I put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it must feel so rewarding. Now, obviously, it doesn't sound like you need new members or anything, but how would someone go about getting involved? Like, is there a deadline to enter? Like, how do you go about that?
There's no real deadline. You can go to scottfishbowl.com and there's a little application page on there. You just click apply and there's a little tiny form to fill out, and that's all it is. And I accept applications right up to draft day, and you never know when someone's going to need to drop out, because especially this year, there's a lot of things going on that maybe someone needs to drop out, or, someone just doesn't, disappears. I pull people. There were people I put in the day of the draft last year, the day the draft started, that had thought they had no shot to get in. So I keep it open right up until the draft. And
when are you planning this year to do the draft?
July 6th. We do it the Monday after the 4th of July every year. So this year that's July 6th, and the drafts usually take a week or two. They're slow drafts, so people who have lives can participate. And it's one heck of a fun time. It's amazing to watch the entire fantasy community talking about the same thing at the same time, and for good reasons. It's a small 1 or 2 week, at least the first week, a small moment where everybody's really positive on Twitter, which is saying something.
God, yeah, absolutely. Now, I've got no doubt that you'll have inspired some of our listeners to set up something similar here in the UK. What advice would you give to them?
Uh, I would say start small and grow it slowly. Your buddy, in fact, is does run does run one of those. I've help promote that a little bit. I would say start small and try to grow organically, and make sure you're doing everything the right way from day one. That's one thing I was very happy about SFB. I kind of lucked into it, that I've done everything like by the book the right way since day one. And I think that's helped gain the trust of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the key is really just don't try to have it be this huge thing right away. Start small and learn where your pain points are when you're growing it, so that you can, adjust and learn how to run it at this level, then the next level. Then, as it grows, you learn so many things about how to run it more efficiently and just the right things to do. Because if you try to make something huge right away and there's a mistake or a problem that you don't know how to fit, it might collapse the whole thing. So I would start small and grow it from there, is probably my first biggest piece of advice.
So tell me a bit more about how it works. So I know that it's free to sign up. I know that much. How does the charitable donation side come into it? Like, how does that work?
So in the States here, all our states have a lot of, well, not all of our states, at least 15 to 20 of our states have some really tight regulations and licensing on fantasy sports. So if I were to require an entry fee, and goes back to doing things the right way from day one. If I were to require an entry fee, there are a whole lot of things, a whole lot of hoops I would have to jump through, and some of those very expensive hoops. Yeah. So I make SFB free, no entry fee, and then I'm clear and good to go, both in the States and internationally. I can have anyone join because it's not a required entry fee. But I do ask that people consider donating to charity. And I have, a link for what I do. And I actually put up links for what other people do. And I put in right in the invitation, it doesn't have to be us. It can be anyone. The point of this is not what we do. It's for everyone to just get in the mental state of, hey, I can do fantasy and help others at the same time. So I just kind of push, what, if you were to pay an entry fee for this league, you're not required to, but if you were, think about how much that would be and just give it to a charity. And a very large amount of people do it, which is
amazing.
Awesome to see.
Yeah. It's really cool. I love the whole idea around it. I think that's, such a nice thing to do. Very selfless.
Yes, it's wonderful to see all the people in it really get behind it, and most people that play they want to win it, no question, and it's huge bragging rights to win it. But it's good to see that most people that get in it for the right reasons, and they like set up group chats with the people in their division, and they try to they actually try to get to know the other people in it, and they're supportive of people when they're in it, and they support the charities that they are passionate about, which is truly amazing.
That's amazing. And I saw a video earlier today on social media from the current reigning champion.
Yeah. The last couple of years, the reigning champions have been in fun with that. The reigning champion from 2018 got in a wrestling singlet. Like, he's a large dude, like a 6'3", 250, 270 pound dude or whatever. Got in a wrestling singlet, like just all tight and whatnot. And there's a championship belt that goes with winning this thing, and he had it over his shoulder like wrestlers do, and put a video out there. And the guy yesterday or today, whenever it was, the reigning champion, put out a video, calling on all challengers. I love that they get into it. It's a big deal winning this thing. So I'm glad to see them do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's a good thing to have fun with, isn't it? Really.
It is. It's really awesome. It's good when even a charitable league can have a little bit of trash talk and in good fun.
Absolutely. And finally, where can people follow you on social? And as a final reminder, I know you've already given the link, but where can people get involved?
Sure. Scottfishbowl.com is where you can go sign up. That's where you can, put your name on the list. And if you don't get in this year, you can try for next year as well. I'll probably put a page for that up at some point here. You can follow me on Twitter at ScottFish24. And that's pretty much where you can find anything I'm doing. That's basically it. ScottFish24 on Twitter, and ScottFishBowl.com that's all there is, really.
Amazing. Well, listen, it's been so good to talk to you, and best of luck with the fantasy season ahead.
Very awesome. Thanks for having me on, Liz.
Thank you so much. I loved chatting to Scott and learning all about the incredible things that he's doing for the Scott Fish Bowl. Well, that's it for another episode of the Cleats Off podcast. As always, I'd love your comments and feedback, so feel free to reach out to me at NFLGirlUK across Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. I wouldn't want you to miss a single episode. So join me next time when I'll be speaking to Will Bryce, the Head of Football Development at NFL UK. Until then, thanks for listening.